Welcome to the Dig Endurance Podcast, where we are all about digging deep and discovering the power of emotional resilience. I'm Aaron, and I'm joined by my brother, Sean.
As endurance athletes and business owners, we have learned a thing or two about facing and overcoming adversity. We are here to share inspiring stories from our guests that will help you to find that inner strength when you feel like you are running on empty.
Are you ready? Let's dig in.
Welcome back, another Dig Endurance Podcast. With Aaron and I, we've got Spencer Irwin today. Spencer, what's up, man?
Hey,
how are you doing?
Good.
All right, so we brought Spencer on today to talk mental health, to talk addiction. Spencer's from Fresno. You born and raised here, Spencer?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Give us a little bit of background about your younger life.
Well, when I was young, I think big thing I was in was skateboarding. That kind of paved the way to everything else and kind of how I grew up.
That's all you did,
bad.
huh?
Yeah. I was at Kaiser Skate Park probably every day.
Still there.
That's
Yeah.
the one just,
Yeah.
over by the hospital?
Yeah, which
Okay.
is like the shittiest skate park, but it was like, it was home. So, yeah.
That's cool.
There's a skate park where I used to live over by Copper Hills. Did you ever go there?
It's a nice one.
It's like
Beamer.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's terribly made. That's like
Oh,
the
is
worst
it?
It
Park.
looks nice.
I just see little kids there.
I'm like, it's a nice
all
one. He's
day.
like, it's a terrible
Yeah,
one.
it's terrible.
Yeah. Well, they made it so like all like the ledges and stuff are downhill, or you can either hit them uphill or down. I don't know. My friend Brett likes it, but
Cool.
I'm not a huge fan.
So elementary, intermediate, high school. You're all here in Fresno.
Yeah.
All right. You've got.
So when did you start skating? Like, how young?
Probably like 5 or 6.
Oh, wow, really
I think
young.
I was on a board. Yeah, my dad skated when he was younger a little bit, so
So did ours. None of us skated, but my dad did.
We've got
Hardcore.
we've got like old school photos of him like in empty pools
Yeah,
and stuff. Yeah.
hanging up over the ledge and stuff. He's an
Yeah.
animal. None of us did that,
Yeah,
though.
no.
I wanted nothing to do with skate.
No.
Going sideways is not my jam. I think you're the same way. You ski.
Yeah, I ski. I
Yeah,
don't
we
board.
go forward. We don't want to be uncomfortable.
yeah. I mean, I tried snowboarding. It was fun, but I don't like the cold. I don't like to be cold.
Okay. So anything else notable that you want to share about when you were younger?
Honestly, no. I mean, that was really the only thing that was like important to me. Like
Okay.
I had other like side hobbies, like, I played the drums, I played baseball growing up. Like my parents had me in sports track, but skateboarding really just kind of stuck out. I loved the culture. I loved, everything about it. I still do. Like it's amazing. But
Okay. So then you graduate high school. Then what? What does life look like?
I graduated high school and I kind of went towards working construction because I grew up in a family who worked as masons, so concrete was like kind of my, go-to.
Mm-hmm.
Even as a kid, I worked with my grandpa moving bricks and stuff, and so I kind of did that. I worked odd jobs, but really it was just partying, like enough money to afford to live and party. That
Okay.
was
Yeah.
all that I needed at the time.
And what did partying look like for you?
Partying
at this point?
started, I started how everybody else started, smoking weed, drinking in high school, doing drugs. I think by the time I graduated high school, I had done pretty much every drug except for, I think, meth and heroin. But, yeah, so, started off how everybody else kind of starts off, but, I guess, like, people say, like, the easiest group to fall into is, like, the stoners, because we had, like, the skaters and the stoners, and they kind of just clashed. So
Yeah.
that was, like, the group that I, clicked with. But, I noticed, like, the only thing I would look forward to was, like, when I would go out with my friends and drink on the weekends. We'd, like, go to a school or something, like an elementary school, and just drink and do whatever, smoke weed, and, and then it got to a point probably when I was around like 20 or 21 where I was like, my friends are not taking this to this extreme. Like, it's kind of when it got bad. Yeah.
What do you mean by it got bad? Like what actually was happening?
Like I found my mental health start to decline a lot. Like I got a lot of anxiety, and everything that I was thinking about throughout the day was like getting to that next drink. And, my drug of choice is alcohol. So I found myself, I think by the time I was like 19 or 20, 19 or 20, I was drinking every day. In the mornings, at night, every day.
So all day, every day.
Yeah. And, I'd go to school, I'd, drink, but then I found myself, and I didn't understand what withdrawals were or anything, but I would find myself shaking all the time and sweating, and I'd be anxious, like, but I just kept doing it and doing it.
A couple extra heartbeats here and there.
Yeah. But my friend, like, I would get comments on it all the time. I'd pick something up and my hand would be shaking. And they're like, dude, why are you shaking so much? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, but yeah.
So you didn't even, so this was happening, but there was no form of treatment or awareness at this point. You're just kind of like cruising through life.
Yeah. Because it wasn't.
Still young.
It wasn't majorly affecting, like, my life as it was. Like, which was work, party, go to sleep.
No school at the time, though, right?
No.
Okay.
I tried, like, I think I took one or two classes when I was 19, and I dropped out.
Okay.
Which is super affecting me in my schooling right now, because I'm not able to get financial aid this semester because of that. But, yeah, school was not really important.
So we continue down this path, right? So is it pretty heavy drinking? Day and night, is it heavy or is it just consistent? What does that look like exactly?
It was heavy. It was always heavy,
So every paycheck went to that and living.
Yeah,
that was it, like
that, and then there was, of course, the drugs on the side, but I think primarily just kind of the alcohol, and I mean, there's things like weed and cocaine, which are constantly always there.
Right.
But, it was so heavy, and, it was mainly like 40s and just bottles of whiskey. Like, Jameson and OE were like my go-tos. But,
So how long did that last? What did that take you to?
That
was like
took
your first
me,
speed bump.
When I got my, I'm trying to think if I got my, so I got my first DUI when I was 23 or 24.
How old are you right now?
29.
29, okay.
Yeah,
so
and I got my first
24.
My first DUI, and I had always had in the back of my head, like, I'm going to stop this eventually, just not right now. So it got to I forget what happened, but I needed to go to rehab for, I think for the DUI or whatever. Or it could have been like, I don't remember what forced me to go to my first rehab, but it was Action Family in Bakersfield.
Oh,
was my
yes.
first rehab.
I've gone there. I'm good friends with the owner.
Yeah, it was actually, I had a lot of fun. I was there for, I think, 14 days. And then I was getting on the bus to actually go to Oakland to live with my friend. Like, that was my plan after rehab, to go live with my friend who parties just as much as I do. And I think it was like a 10-minute drive from the rehab to the bus station, and they took me there, and I knew I had like 10 or 15 extra minutes, so there's a liquor store right next to the bus station. So I walked in there, like, 20 minutes after leaving rehab, like.
What moved you to go into rehab the first time? Was it you that arrived at that? Was it your parents that
No,
convinced you to that?
it was definitely the people around me. I think the courts actually
Court ordered?
Yeah.
Because of the DUI?
Yeah.
So would you say you're in the mindset at that part yet where you're like on board with that, or it was like, I'm unwillingly going to this, I don't want to be here?
Definitely unwilling.
Yeah.
Like, I was not going to stop doing what I was doing,
It was like, I'm going to check the box.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
I'm going to make these people happy, and then maybe when I get out, I can manage it a little better, or just stop getting in trouble. And, the DUI wasn't my first run-in with the police, and it definitely wasn't the last, but, it was the first major event, and I think it was, because I ended up going to jail over that too. So maybe the rehab was my parents pushing me, because I think I had to move back into my parents.
Sometimes it can alleviate fines and certain penalties in the courts too.
How was it with your family through this time? I mean, like, were you living at home up until the time that, you had the DUI? You mean throughout your high school years, you said you're kind of, dabbling in drugs and whatnot. Like, were people starting to kind of wise up to or notice how it was impacting you or affecting you? Or
Yeah, definitely. Like, I would get comments from my friends like, dude, why do you drink so much? And these are people who, like, their thing is they want to party on the weekends. Like, they're the one getting the drugs, the alcohol on the weekends with me, and they're looking at me and they're like, dude, this is too much. Like, and then when I came back from rehab, I completely saw the difference in my friend group. Like, they almost didn't want to hang out with me. And then when I felt like they would hang out with me, they're like skeptical. Like, I don't know if that was because I went to rehab and right out just went back to doing what I was doing.
Sure.
But, that's when my friends group kind of started to separate.
So when you showed up to this friend group the first time after you had left rehab, used again, did they know that you had gotten right out, used again, and then gone into that social group again?
Yeah. Because it was more like, man, I got to go to this rehab place because I got this. But, I didn't tell them I was going in to get better. Like,
So you checked out of that first rehab. Sounds like no real change. You're like, yeah, okay, did that. I can manage this better.
It actually got worse after the rehab.
I was going to ask, where did we go from there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you deal with Curtis at Action? Was it Curtis?
The
black guy? The hair?
Maybe.
Super nice guy, like one of the nicest guys ever.
Honestly, to think about it, I remember a lot, but I do not remember the staff there.
Gotcha.
Like, but yeah, after rehab, I think was the decline. Like, rehab was probably the tip of the peak, and after that, everything declined. Like,
Okay. So
a lot.
All right, so let's hear more. So the friends, you get out. What does it look like after that? What are the next speed bumps that are headed your way?
Well, I got out of rehab, and I had crashed my car. When I got my DUI, I completely totaled my car. So actually, that's a funny story that I'll dive into real quick.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So I was
probably funny now.
Yeah.
It was.
Well, okay, I've gotten 2 DUIs, and both of my DUIs was because I was texting, both times. And both times it was a girl I was texting. So
Girls will do that.
yeah,
It's the girl's fault then,
Yeah.
right?
Well, anyways, I was heading home at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and like I was completely hammered, and I was texting. There's nobody on the road, and I decided to like hit a red light right as it turned, and a car T-boned me like right as it happened. And actually, I left the scene of the accident because I just panicked and I took off, but I left my bumper and license plate behind. And then I guess there's cameras throughout Clovis, so they saw me. I got as far as Clovis and Alluvial Park.
Clovis is riddled with cameras.
Yeah, I got to Clovis and Alluvial Park. Is it Clovis and Alluvial Park? Yeah, I got to
Yeah.
there. I parked
Where the 5Ks are.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
parked in the parking lot, grabbed my skateboard out of the trunk, and skated home. And by the time I got home, the second I walked in the door, the cops were already at my doorstep.
That's quick, because you live like literally down the street.
Yeah, the skate home I think was like probably 15 minutes. 'Cause I'm pretty sure I fell a few times, but yeah, the cops were immediately there, and any story that I could concoct was completely blown
no.
because
Hard
of the
no.
cameras. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, that was my first DUI. And anyways, after the rehab, I decided to go to Hayward and go live with my friend who lived with his aunt and his aunt and like a couple family members. And they did not okay me living with them before I went over there. My friend had just told me, yeah, come down, it'll be cool, you can stay with us. So, and I had money from my total car that got fixed and sold. I think I got like $3,000 out of it. So I wasn't working, but I had money. And I went to Hayward, and his family did not okay it. And probably the second day, they're like, yeah, you guys can't stay here. So they kicked him out and me. So we ended up, that happening. And I can't really remember what happened, but I ended up going back to Action Family a few months later and stay a little longer. And then I went into sober living this time afterwards.
Here or there?
there.
Okay.
I forget what the place was called,
Okay.
but it was like a little turn off, and it was almost like this little compound.
Okay. Like a lot of them, like almost like an apartment complex.
Yeah, and
I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah, this is actually
The majority of it is from Action. If I'm
after
not-
I had met McKay, your brother.
Oh, yes,
and
yes.
I went with his one of his ex-girlfriends was there, and we were friends.
I forgot her name, but I remember who you're
I know,
talking
I'm
about.
allowed to say it.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, Morgan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I stayed, and we became friends when we were there. But I was still drinking there, and my roommate when I was there actually ended up dying in his sleep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Just naturally.
Yeah, and we had found
That's
him in
sad.
the morning. Well, no, not naturally. I think he had sleep apnea, and
Okay.
something happened with that. So he ended up passing away in his sleep, and we found him, and it was this crazy event with the like everybody. There was the coroners there, so I think that definitely had an impact.
I feel like I actually remember this happening.
Yeah,
because
his
I have
name was
other-
Robert.
Yeah, I feel like I
and-
have other friends that were.
So was that like the
Connected
first,
to him.
like, I mean, that's pretty traumatic. I mean, waking up
Yeah.
to a friend, and I mean, what was the immediate impact of that on you?
I
when
mean,
you-
I'd never really like seen a dead body before, so that was, and let alone a person that I was close with. Like he wasn't just someone that I lived in the house with. Like he was my friend. We went and did stuff. He was my main friend in there. So it did impact me quite a bit. With there was a little trauma behind
Yeah,
that.
always.
But then again, it's just something else that has fed my addiction. Because my best friend passed away when I was 9 years old. So there's another death that could be contributed. But then again, there's probably no real point, and I don't know. But so where was I at the decline?
friend had just passed away.
Yeah, after that, I drank heavy in Bakersfield, and I ended up moving back into Fresno with the same friend
So
I
that's a
lived
double
with.
whammy. You're drinking and you're in Bakersfield.
Yeah. Is that worse than
It was
Fresno?
pretty
Is
bad.
Bakersfield worse than Fresno? I think it is.
And I think Bakersfield was like the first time that I started doing like meth on occasion too.
Yeah, there's a little
which
bit of
was-
meth in Bakersfield too. Huh?
Yeah, there's a little
Yep.
bit of meth there. So that
I'm
was-
just throwing shade on Bakersfield. I'm just being a smart.
No,
Anyway,
I mean I didn't like living there, but
so where'd you
never
go
moved
from?
back.
Where'd you go from there?
I moved back to Fresno, and I moved in with the same friend that I had moved in with at Hayward.
Okay.
And this time he was heavily drinking too.
Where are your, like, at this point, where is your family at with you? Like, are they just kind of like, you know what, he's gonna do what he's gonna do? I mean, like, what's?
Yeah, I mean they were there, but I kind of was not like having them in the picture. Like I'm talking to them every once in a while to let them know I was okay. But when I moved into the house after coming back from Bakersfield, I moved into the apartment with him, and it was a sad apartment. It was the worst apartment that I had ever lived in. He had his bed. It was a one-bedroom, and then I had a mattress on the floor. And then we had like a TV in the front. But basically, I would just, stay home and drink and do other stuff. And that's when my drinking got so heavy that I had medical issues because of it. I ended up getting pancreatitis after being
yeah. Yep.
living there for, I think, 3 months.
Okay.
And I was drinking like, I want to say close to a handle of liquor a day. Like,
Okay.
yeah,
We're
it
up
was
there.
bad. Like I couldn't even function. Like I would walk to the gas station across the street, and I'd be dripping with sweat.
That was a
and I'd be
challenge in
sweating,
its own,
and
huh? Yeah.
it was horrible. And then I'd have other friends. I actually met up with a couple other friends, like for the first time after like living there for a month and a half. Like some of my older friends, and they could tell something was wrong. Like I was physically sick until I had like a very large quantity of alcohol in me.
Yep.
So yeah, and then I ended up doing 7 months in the hospital. I mean, not 7 months, 7 days.
I was like, what?
No, 7 days in the hospital.
Wow.
And that was a bitch. The hospital was so boring. I remember just
It's
laying
the
there,
worst.
and I was trying to I remember I was laying there for like,
Basically, like detoxing you, or
yeah, and I think by like the 4th or 5th day, I was trying to scheme on how I could get out to smoke a cigarette. Like,
Yeah.
was trying to find, and I would always get caught on my way trying to get out. But
Oh, so they wouldn't even let you go out, or were they just saying they don't want you to smoke a cigarette?
they didn't want me to like get out of bed and move around. Like, that was
okay.
the whole thing.
Okay.
And I was like attached to IVs, so I was like, I would like plot, like I would go to like the bathroom down the hall, and I would look and I would see if I could see like the closest exit and stuff. Like that's the fiend, and it doesn't matter if
It's like a movie when the guy's trying to cut out of the
Yep,
hospital.
yep.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's, you know, caffeine, nicotine, whatever I want it, I'm gonna go get it. But
It still seems kind of like you're, I don't know, you're kind of wandering through at that point. Like what? So where from there, like where's the point where you feel like, I don't know, there was a little bit of a kick? Like it sounds like maybe it happened a little bit when your friend died, but maybe not enough to turn it around or start turning it around. Where did it go from the hospital?
You know, after the hospital, I actually got sober for like my first like decent chunk of time.
Okay.
I don't remember how long it was.
Just on your own?
But no, I ended up going into CAP when CAP was
yeah.
the first CAP, not the CAP now. But yeah, so I ended up going into CAP. There was this guy who I went out of the hospital and I went and stayed with him until I could get into CAP. And I cannot remember this dude's name, but
That's
yeah.
okay.
But he was like, he saved my life. He gave me a bed, like everything, until I could get into CAP and, you know, get sobered up. And so that was the first time where I had an actual chunk of sobriety that led to an actual relapse. I don't think there was ever like a relapse point because I think I was always just in it.
Going.
I think this was
Right.
the point where I was like, actually, like, I'm fucking myself up.
Yeah.
Like, I need to, you know,
So you had the self-realization of I need to do something about this, and it was on your own. It wasn't influenced by someone else.
No, I had to physically damage my body. Like, something major had to happen to me for something to want to change. I mean, it didn't change immediately, but it was the first step in realizing something needs to be different.
Okay. So we go to CAP. Did you stay there after the? Did you detox?
I didn't go to CAP detox,
Oh.
actually. Because
Lucky you.
I had been in the hospital and then I had stayed with this dude, so I think I was like 2 weeks sober by the time I went into CAP.
So you were waiting to get into their actual program.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, and I remember thinking like, because I had done, I think like 5 or 6 residential programs at this point.
Okay.
There was like Herndon Recovery I went to quite a few times.
Good
but those
old
were
Dr. Atwell.
Yeah. That was because I kept getting caught with, you know, I think it was weed one time. I kept getting these minor drug charges, which I would just go to like these rehabs and it would go away. And also, like, you know, I was at that point when I was like, I wasn't working. My money had kind of ran out. So I was kind of like, shit, I'm going into rehab as a place to stay at this point.
Okay. So you weren't gung-ho about your recovery.
So
you
the rehab almost
survival.
became like a safety net in a way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I did have that first realization that something does need to change. I didn't know how to do it. And
How old are you at that time?
25, I want to say. And then I went and I actually did a rehab in Texas for a little while. That didn't do anything. They same situation, dropped me at the train station. I met up with this dude who was like this, man, I wish I knew this dude's name because he was like this upcoming rapper and he was going from Texas to LA to go like produce an album or something. And he had like this backpack that was a pharmacy and I had a backpack that was basically so in Texas, like, you can't buy liquor from anywhere. You have to go to an actual liquor store.
Yeah.
So I was getting on the train, so I got, I don't know, to get me through a 48-hour train ride, I think I got like 7 or 8 pints. Like, it was a lot. It was way more than I actually needed. But I ended up meeting up with this dude and we just got completely fucked up the whole train ride back. And it was wild.
Okay.
Like, we broke down in New Mexico and it was just
The train did?
yeah.
Okay.
So I don't remember much about that train ride besides sleeping in other people's seats and them waking me
That
up.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyways, I'm trying to.
So where did you go?
Did you
on the
make
train?
did you come back to California? Or?
Yeah, I actually came back.
You took the train from Texas to California?
Yeah,
Oh,
And who's picking you up?
Texas to LA. And
Oh,
then I was-
LA.
yeah, Texas to LA.
How long did that take? Like a day and a half?
It was like 48 hours, I
Yeah,
think.
geez.
Yeah, it was a long train ride. And the Wi-Fi didn't work half the time, so that
Sounds
was
even better.
super frustrating. I had DVDs, luckily, but so we would watch DVDs the whole time.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, so I ended up coming back to Fresno, and then I don't know, I got clean again, and then I ended up working for this construction company, and the owner or the foreman was a complete asshole. Like, this dude he called me fuckface, I think, on my first day.
Oh.
Like, no, fuckface 2, because my other coworker was the first fuckface one.
okay.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And I remember that first day, and I was like, this dude's gonna be a challenge. But he paid me really well, so
Okay.
So F
So
face number
he
2 I
has
am.
the right to say F face.
Okay.
Your face. Okay.
So, yeah, I did that, and I actually got clean for a while. There's this guy, Tim. He had just gotten out of prison after doing, I think it was like 8 years or something, and he was like what I wanted to like model my recovery after, because he like had gotten out of prison, he had gone through CAP, he had went to sober living, he got his truck driver's license, and we moved out together, and we got an apartment together. And I think I lasted like a month or two, and then I started drinking and using again, because we were working 7 days a week, 12-hour days. So when that ended up stopping, like, because we had this apartment job, it was like this whole apartment complex that we were remodeling. And after that job ended, work kind of just trickled down. I think he got his third strike, the foreman, and so he got put away. And so no more job. And I went just back to what I was doing. So, yeah, it's kind of, and that's kind of like the basis, but I mean, it got worse. Like, then I started to experience like homelessness and stuff like that, which was crazy to me, because
At what point did your parents say you're not coming home anymore? Where did that kick in?
I had to have been like 22 or 23.
So it's been a while. It's been
Yeah.
a few years at that point since they said
Yeah.
you're not coming home. That's no option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They like let me stay the night every once in a while, but yeah. Which honestly they probably should have actually done it earlier. Because I mean, I had moved out at 18, but I had ended up coming back. But I mean,
Those are healthy boundaries for good,
Yeah.
loving parents, which I can confirm.
yeah,
they,
and
they are the most loving parents.
yeah, and honestly, like, I don't come from a family of addiction. Like, I have family members that have like struggled with substance abuse,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like my parents aren't alcoholics. Like, I didn't come from a bad family, or I was pretty privileged growing up, so they didn't really know how to handle addiction. So it was
Okay.
kind of a learning experience for them as well. But
Which it is for
You know.
everyone. I mean,
exactly,
Yeah.
It's only,
But, I
the only
mean-
way to do it.
yeah. But I mean, the way that they went about everything was good. It was loving. It was caring, and
That's not surprising to me.
yeah. So they were a big part of, still are a big part of my recovery.
Yeah.
So what was I talking?
You came back. I had interjected because I was asking about when, like, what point your parents had said, "Hey, no more." You said about 22, so it sounds like it's been a few years since they'd kind of reached that decision. You're back at Fresno. You lost the job. The guy got his third strike, and you said you're kind of swirling using again.
Yeah.
And so, where does it go from there?
Then it got really, really bad. Then I started blacking out a lot.
And sorry, you mentioned you were homeless at this time too. That was starting to kick
Off
in.
and on.
Yeah.
I would go into like sober livings. I would start working for a while, and I would get my shit together, and then I would have to tear it all down and then start over again. And that's how it was 4 years. From then until now, it's just been tearing it down, building up. Now is the first actual time that I actually had everything to get, like, I've been in school.
Where do you go to
had
school?
a job. I'm at Fresno City.
Okay, at Fresno City.
Yeah.
How long you been there?
This is my first semester.
This is your first
so I
semester?
started in August.
Cool.
Yeah.
Any school before this, or are you just getting going?
No, but I mean, I think I mentioned before I took a couple classes at 18, 19.
Right.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, this is my first time actually back in school, and
Okay.
it's definitely kind of a culture shock.
Sure.
Like, I'm not used to using my brain for like extended periods
Yep.
of time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Back in school and
Yeah.
then working.
yeah, working. I mean, my job. I'm working a minimum wage job at a pizza place,
Nothing
but
wrong
it's
with that.
At all.
it's something, and I'm due to get my an apartment with this program that I've been working. I'm due to get that in the next month or two. So, everything's falling into line. Right now, it's pretty much the point of I can't fail. I can't have a relapse, because I know when I relapse, I will tear everything down.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, to this point, it's more than halfway through the semester. I finished one class, which was half a semester long, and I actually got an A in that one.
That's a big step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
That's gotta feel good.
huge.
So right now, it's just heavy maintenance. Like, I just started with therapy. I've been doing that
for you.
for the past,
Like one-on-one
2
counseling.
months. Yeah. And actually, he left the company he was working. My therapist left the company he was working with, so I went a couple weeks with no therapy. But the place that I wanted me to start with another therapy and stay with them. But I went with the same dude because he's awesome.
Good choice.
He's awesome. He's kind of like doesn't take any bullshit. Like, he'll call me on my shit, but also give me tools to, on things that I could do. And he's told me things like, I thought when I went to therapy, man, I've heard it all. Like, there's nothing you can tell me that'll like make an impact. Like, I've heard so much shit about my addiction and the depression, the anxiety, whatever. I've heard so much advice. Like, and then I went to see him, and I'm like, shit, this dude's smart. Like, he knows what he's talking about. So yeah, that's definitely.
Those are keepers.
It's good. I mean, sometimes, we hear it often and see it often where sometimes you do just need to click with the right therapist.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, there's trained techniques, and that works for obviously many. Sometimes for some people, it's just having the right connection and hearing
Yeah, I agree.
hearing the right experiences from
Yep.
that person, and they just they connect in a way and can like help you in a way that just frankly no one else could, even if they are using the same supposed mental health techniques that would be in a therapy session kind of a thing. So
I mean, even
we see that from time to time.
Yeah, I was going to piggyback on that. When we have kids that come into our IOP program, if they already have a therapist and they have a really good relationship, I mean, we heavily suggest keep them.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing more important than that rapport relationship that's been built, like Aaron was saying.
Absolutely. And I hear that all the time. Like, you have to find a good therapist. Like, you can't just find any therapist who, gives you advice. Like, you actually have to have a camaraderie with them.
Well, it's got to be safe. It's not just psychoeducational
camaraderie,
support.
and the other thing that works well. I mean, we work with a lot of people, going through addiction struggles and whatnot. Is that when you're in one-on-one counseling, it provides a neutral accountability system. It's not your parents. It's not someone that just wants to sit there and tell you what you want to hear or anything like that. Like, when you have a good therapist, in addition to like offering you, good advice and techniques and feedback, they also help you to be accountable in a neutral way, and that's very helpful in that regard too.
Addiction's unique, right? A good example of working through something like addiction, because you have your sobriety time that you get off the front, right? We get our sobriety. You're kind of trying to find a path, a purpose, some sort of way to go. It's like going to the gym, or maybe finding a trainer, maybe a dietitian. Let's say you're overweight by a good amount, and you start to lose a lot of weight. You're not going to the gym yet. You're just, you've been guided in order to lose this weight. Well, once you lose the weight, that's great. You do feel good. You have a path in front of you. But do you want to go to the gym now and build a little bit of muscle? Mm-hmm. You want to start running? Right? There's multiple aspects of it. So you can remove the addictive portion of your life, get rid of those habits, but what habits are you going to build moving forward?
What do you fill it with?
What's your muscle tone going to look like, right? How strong do you want to get? So a therapist can help you get to that point where you kind of remove some of that stuff, and then that relationship and rapport allows you to build strength moving forward. That's the whole point of what we talk about, is building resilience after you initially remove like the major obstacles. So there's plenty more obstacles to come. They're never going to stop, ever.
So you're still, I mean, you're kind of still in your cycle. You're fresh where you're at a point right now where it's kind of a critical point. I mean, you've gotten yourself in school, passed the first class, got an A in the first class, back to work, whatever work looks like. The point is you're back to work. So where do you see yourself going from here? What's the goal? What are you working toward right now?
Right now, my biggest goal is my housing, because I'm not happy with my housing situation right now. But I am working with a program who does housing. Like I mentioned before, I'm getting an apartment through them. Basically, it's 30% of all your income, and they let you 30% of your income for a year, and that's with financial aid, whatever. How much total you make. And honestly, that it's just going to be a huge weight off my shoulders. I mean, there is the anxiety of, shit, I'm going to be living alone, I haven't lived alone. I don't think I've ever lived by myself. It's always, been with a girlfriend or a close friend or,
Can't that, so. That could swing both ways, right?
Right.
It could be good that there's not somebody else there to maybe tempt you into old things, but at the same time, it also means, sometimes they say, what is it, that time to yourself is like the, what's the word? The devil's workshop, or when you got time to yourself or you're alone, whatever. So I could see it going both ways. It's like, sometimes it's good to have people for accountability. Sometimes they can tempt you. So sometimes being alone is a good thing. Sometimes being alone is a bad thing. So I could see it going both ways. But how do you feel about that?
Honestly, I think overall it's going to be the best decision I can make, because the stressors in my life right now has a big thing to do with my living environment.
Which you feel... Go ahead.
Yeah, just the people around me have not been the most positive. So if I can... Basically, right now, I don't even have, a safe space. My safe space is Fresno City College, the library, or...
Use it.
The regular library. I want to be able to go home and have somewhere that that I'm comfortable, I can go to when I'm stressed and just kind of relax. But then I also have to have the accountability of my close friends. And a big thing is if I begin isolating. Isolation is a big, big warning sign for me. I may not think it's a big issue at the time. I'm just hanging out and watching TV at home, more often than normal. But, I find myself wanting to do more and more of that and not wanting to see people. So that's why in my recovery right now, I'm getting out of my comfort zone. This is completely out of my comfort zone.
Good.
I was I don't even know what to talk about. I don't like the sound of my own voice.
I appreciate you being willing to come and talk about it while you're still going through it.
Yeah.
That does take a lot of fortitude to be able to be willing to do that. But at the same time, I think, however short it may be, I'm excited for you. I think you're in a good place. And honestly, for the first time, as you were sharing your story, it kind of just seemed like almost like being stuck in a washer or dryer or a hamster wheel. It's like you're just kind of being tumbling in the same cycle and couldn't quite fit. But for the first time, I'm hearing you, when you just now identified, hey, this is a safe spot for me, the library.
Yeah.
It sounds like, you're starting to figure out kind of what are some triggers, what are some good places for you to be. Fresno City is a good place for me to be. You've got your work lined up. I need good friends, but also at the same time, if I'm with the wrong ones, that can be the bad. So it sounds like, you've been through quite a few, rehabs and places. So I'm sure you've learned a thing or two there. Yeah. But it sounds like in the course of your journey, you're also learning okay, good place for me to be, not good place for me to be. You're kind of mapping out your days or, things where your time accordingly. And it sounds like you're starting to log some wins.
Yeah. My big thing is, I had to suggest, because the program that I'm working with the apartments, they have a lot of different ones, but there is one that's close to Parkway, and I don't want to. Parkway is my, as well as many people from Fresno who are addicts. Parkway,
you mean all of Fresno,
is where you're doing your worst.
Yes.
And honestly,
yep, good old Parkway.
You're good.
and yeah, Parkway. I actually have an interesting Parkway story. So
Please.
when
we love Parkway stories.
I have a lot of interesting.
I only have like 40 or 50 of those. So.
Yeah, I have a lot of Parkway stories, but I think the worst was I was staying at Parkway and I had gotten super drunk and I didn't have I think I had ran out of whatever I was using.
Yeah.
So I had went to go, and I don't know because I black out a lot. This was at the point where I was blacking out a lot, but I ended up in this, like, it's behind Parkway. It's not even like a housing, but it's like just this abandoned building. There's graffiti everywhere. Like, it's a trap house. And I ended up going in and, like, trying to ask these dudes for, what I wanted. And, like, because Parkway, you normally can find a bunch of people, but I wasn't having any luck. So I ended up, long story short, I ended up, these dudes, it's not cool to walk into, this was somebody else's space, apparently. I just thought, who was like this abandoned building, but it was definitely somebody's, like, what they were calling home right now. And it didn't end bad. I got beat up. I got robbed. But the stupidest thing was I should have learned my lesson. They took my wallet, they took my phone, they took everything. And, they kicked my ass, honestly, which it wasn't very hard. I was hammered. But I went back to my hotel room, and then the next day I'm such a fiend that I needed to go get my wallet back. So I'm making the decision, I'm going to go get my wallet back from these guys. Like, the fuck? So
Been there, done that. I hear you. Let's hear it.
So like, I don't go in like a tough guy, but I go back to the area and I walk in and, like, dudes are on me immediately. And I was like, hey, I just came, like, can I get my wallet and, like, my ATM card? And these dudes ended up kicking my ass again. Worse this time.
We'll take you to the ATM and you can use it for us.
Yeah. And they pistol whipped the shit out of me. And, it was probably
better to be pistol whipped than anything else with a pistol. That's for
exactly. Sure. Well, it was a pretty terrifying experience, but the fact that, like, that's the dangerous places that we put ourselves in. Like, I got the shit beaten out of me, and then I go back the next time because there's a chance that I could possibly
make this work.
Yeah, because I think it was like a Saturday or Sunday, and I couldn't go to the bank to get a new ATM card. So I was like,
I'll just ask
maybe,
for it back.
Maybe these guys who just beat me up the night before might be cool today.
There's just a misunderstanding the first time.
So point is I know kind of, it doesn't really matter where you are, but definitely anywhere near Parkway is a big trigger for me.
Sure.
So lesson learned, stay away from Parkway if you're in Fresno. Okay.
So I specified with my counselors to send me to a different area that they have, a different housing area. Because my good friend lives in that one, and I was like, I like that area to an extent. I love Roding Park. Like, they only park with horseshoes. I mean, but yeah, it's a bad area for me.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was really getting at.
No, I think you were sharing a story that was
a
little reality check.
I mean, awareness moving forward, though, is very real. When you look back at that stuff, obviously you're not fully conscious of, like, the dangers of the situation versus, like, what you're thinking you need at the time. You're not there.
Yeah.
Whether you think you are or not. But when you look back at that, it's it's good to know that when you're moving forward, that maybe that'll help influence certain decisions you're making, whether you're in a tough spot or not.
Yeah, I'm just, like, there's certain things within my recovery that I try to keep to the back of my head. Like, I like things that would be so disastrous that I don't know if I would be able to, my recovery would survive them. Which that's the hardest part that I'm trying to get over in my head, was I need to come to the, conclusion that whatever happens, drinking and using is going to make it 100 times worse. Mm-hmm. But then I think, man, like this past year, there's been like certain things. It's just been like one thing, like one time I was doing so well for so long, and it was a picture that set me off. Like, so what if like somebody important to me dies? I've dealt with death before, so I think my main thing is
it's when.
So like, because I've had people die through addiction.
Yeah.
I've had multiple people who are very close to me, and one even recently, who have passed away from their addiction. So it gets me to the point of where I don't want to let people in. And that makes it hard to make friends in my sobriety right now. I mean, I have my sober friends and I have my old friends that I'm trying to, get back in my life. But there's also this point where I kind of iffy about getting too close with anybody at this point, because there's like those, I don't know if I can, like, my recovery will survive it again. Like,
yeah.
And which is real. And there's like, I've gotten advice from everybody through this, but I think that's the thing that I worry about the most right now.
Well, typically speaking, it does get more challenging as you get older, as you progress, right? Even the longer bouts of sobriety time that you have, those can turn into bigger challenges on the flip side, because there's no reward. You think there's a reward, but what you find on the other side is that it's exponentially more challenging, because every time you put in work, and every time you look at it as a failure, that shame and guilt sets in. If you haven't put that work forth beforehand, the cycle keeps going like this. So it goes up and up and up and up, right?
Well, I think my observation is you're starting to notch the right wins. You're building momentum for yourself.
You're resilient. That's for sure.
You're resilient, but I think frankly, you're just you've over the course of your years, you're realizing this is good for me and this is not. As I'm hearing you speak, it's like, this is the right stuff for me. This is the right place for me to be. These are the right things for me to be doing. Not necessarily, we've had people on here, and it's kind of like they have their come to Jesus with dad or mom or a certain one person. I'm not really getting that from you. I'm kind of getting that you've kind of had these quiet realizations through your own failures as well as your own successes, that it's like, hey, this is a good place for me to go. This is not a good place for me to go. These are good people for me to be around. These are not. I think you're just kind of realizing, like, what is the pattern that works for you. Yeah. You're building some good, quiet momentum right now. You're a little early in it, but you're starting to feel some of the success of that.
Yeah.
And it's just a kind of a snowball rolling right now, and you just got to keep it going in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think another thing that kind of I've came to the realization that I need to keep out for a while is my relationships. Because my past 2 relationships have ended disastrously, like in 2 completely different ways. But, I don't, at the point of not wanting to let people in because I know it'll affect me, I'm also worried about letting people in because I don't want to destroy them.
Sure.
Or, so kind of there's that aspect of it. Or, it doesn't even have to be in relationships, people in general.
Right.
Like, I don't want to fuck up anybody else's,
We call those circles
direction
around here.
Well,
we value our circles.
I'm not, I don't, I have my own struggles. I don't share yours per se, but I will say, I think everyone at some point needs to arrive at filtering out their circle of people. Addict or not. I know people who are not addicts who are terrible at filtering out their circle. They think they have to be friends with everybody and be good with everybody, and I disagree with that. I do think that it's wise and smart. It doesn't mean you have to be, a jerk or mean to everybody, but you can be selective in your friends and in your circle, and still be, not only can you be, I believe you should be. I believe everyone should be. Again, addict or not, there's a right group of friends for all of us. There's a good group of friends, a good group of people that helps to encourage our goals, helps us become better people. And if there's people that are not part of that core group or that don't belong, you need to filter them out, because all they're going to do is drag you down or weigh you down or make you feel negative. And I very much believe in that. Sean knows that.
Yep.
Sean feels the same.
You become very conscious of what you're expending your energy to.
Yeah.
Like you it's like, nope.
So I think it's wise for you. I think it's wise for anyone.
I agree.
So I think you're making a good choice there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't really like most people. Like, I'm kind of like, most
That's okay.
On that we can see eye to eye.
I was like, that's okay.
some people suck. Like, I mean, it's just kind of reality. But, and another big thing, this is actually one thing that I remember from the notes I took before this.
Okay.
But I was trying to kind of find a way to bring it in. But, like, so a big motivator for me right now is there's a picture, and to this day I don't know who took it, but so there's this picture of me sitting outside. I think it's like a 7-Eleven on the ground. It was winter, so I had a big puffy coat on and a white t-shirt, and my face is soaked in blood, and my whole t-shirt is just soaked in blood. Like, I look fucked up. My hair, because I have had long hair for a long time. My hair's matted and just tangled. My face is bloody, and I'm sitting there. There's a can of beer next to me, and I'm out, like completely out on the side of this store. And I don't know who took this picture, but somehow it got like to my mom, and like it. I have it. Or I don't have it on this phone, but I had it on my old phone.
That's okay.
And it's still around somewhere. I think my mom still has it.
Okay.
I don't know I guess she keeps it to show me as a reminder. But that picture, so what happened to create to where I got to that point was, I was kind of on the streets, homeless, no money. I was stealing all my alcohol at that point. I had this jacket that had 2 inside pockets, and it was enough for two Four Locos. And if I could do that like twice, maybe 3 times, I could get through the day. Which that's excessive, 4 to 6 Four Locos a day is a lot. But that was just, and I was constantly sick. I was not enjoying myself. Like it was horrible. And anytime I drink, I'd black out, and the next time I'd come to, like, I would just do it again. And so I had gone to the 99-cent store, and I had stolen 2 bottles of wine that day because I was feeling fancy. I wanted to get wine drunk. So anyways, I had I had chugged a pint before I had done that of liquor, and then, which I had also stolen, which actually, I actually just walked into the store down there that I stole it from.
Got it.
And actually gave that guy like $4 and told him, hey, I stole this a while ago. Anyways, so I get the wine, and I'm already hammered, and I guess I finished both the bottles, and I black out, and I guess there's a loading dock, and I completely face planted from the top of the loading dock to my face. And I broke my cheekbones, and I broke my nose really, really badly. Like to where I can't really smell too well anymore. Okay. And there's a few other broken bones, like my eye socket I think was broken, and then I had like cuts, and I fucked up. And so that's how I got to the point of where I was. And then I guess later, an ambulance, after that picture was taken, obviously somebody said something because I was in rough shape.
Right.
But which kind of reminds me, who took the picture and didn't like... Anyways, but yeah, so an ambulance found me. I came to in the hospital, and this is probably one of the worst like things. Is I came to in the hospital. I was covered in blood. I didn't know what happened to me, but I was covered in blood. My face hurt. I had bandages or whatever, and I looked around and I couldn't find my jacket. My alcohol stealing jacket. So I was pissed. So I got out of my bed, and I found the first nurse, and I was like, fine. you know, whoever brought me in, like, I want my jacket back because I want to get out of here.
Right.
I don't want to be at the hospital right now. Like, I got to go, you know, jack some more alcohol. Where's my jacket? And they're like,
Okay.
it was covered in blood. We threw it away. And I did not care about how fucked up that I got. I was pissed that I didn't have my jacket
Right.
to steal booze anymore.
Right.
And yeah, that was probably one of like the most like moments looking back. Like, that's crazy.
Just
like
the priorities.
Yep.
to like a normal person, like that thought process is just, you know, ridiculous. Like, I didn't care what happened to me as long as I got my, you know, fix or my booze for the day.
So in closing, Spencer, what is it that you're going to do differently that you have not done before moving forward? You're in school, right? If you had like 30 seconds right now to just be like, all right, this is my number one goal moving forward, what are you going to stick to? What's your commitment?
I need to stay close with family. I need to stay close with the people who want the best for me, which I'm believing I know who they are at this point.
Yep.
You know, and I need, the biggest thing is I need to keep my groups and I need to keep my therapy. I need reminders of why I'm not doing what I'm doing. And also, you know, for example, that picture. Like,
Okay.
I need constant reminders throughout the day why I'm choosing to be sober.
So keep it simple. We're going to keep it simple and move forward.
Worthy goals.
Awesome. I have nothing else to add.
No,
This was fantastic.
No, that's good. Thanks
All
for
right.
sharing your story today.
Yeah,
I appreciate
I mean,
it.
I hope.
Thanks,
you know,
Spencer.
thank you.
No, it was
Yeah,
great.
thanks for having me.
Thank you.